I think I always made the comment that once a miller, always a miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good heavens, he's done it again! Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you all for being with us on the first episode of the year. And we've won an away game. Rotherham United have won an away game. Unbelievable scenes. And we'll talk about it. Really good atmosphere, really good everything else. We'll talk about the game. But we can't celebrate for too long because there's another game on Saturday, what will be, I'm sure, a tougher game on Saturday with Huddersfield Town in the Yorkshire Derby. We'll cover all that. Mick, how are we?
I'm all good, mate. Thank you. All good. Got my voice back as well, which is nice.
Mick losing his voice at a Rotherham game. I remember the last time that happened.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
And Tom's back. How are we doing, Tom?
Yeah, good. A lot happier after that. I'm just gonna every time I predict a loss, we win. So I'm gonna keep doing that. You know, I'm gonna sacrifice my place in the table for a place for Rotherham's place in the table.
Self-sacrifice, I like it. Happy New Year to everybody. First show of the year. Do we all have a nice New Year? All go crazy.
I went mad, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely bonkers. I went.
Bed by 9.
Yeah.
10:30.
Okay.
Start the year as you mean to go on, I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly. Usually it says good evening, as does Martin Hall, Nick Cammack. Steve Gunner says evening and a happy new year to all. But what a start. Let there be more. Cheryl Stone's happy new year as well. Richard says evening all, unbeaten in 2025. End of podcast. Like it. Jamie's with us, as is Fishman Sid. RLX Mystery is with us as well. Darren comes, evening guys, a positive show for once. We will be happy to do that. Gordon Grant says great 3 points, but Lincoln form is poor. Huddersfield's the arse. Yes, we will come on to that. We'll come on to the specifics because there's quite a lot to pick from a 1-0 game, which is quite surprising. When we beat them 2-1 at home, there were 3 goals, and it was difficult to talk about it really. There's loads to cover from this 1-0 victory, and like I say, a lot of it positive, Mick. But just in generalization of the game, before we go into specifics, happy is the way I would describe it. Even if it would have finished 0-0, I would have been quite happy because that was a really positive performance in a few different aspects.
Yeah, it was. There were some positives to take out of it, without a doubt. There were. I think it's important to say right from the outset that Lincoln were as poor as any team I've seen all season, and I include us in that because we've been poor, obviously, in some games, but they were as poor as anybody I can remember all season. So that is one part of it, but we lost the game for pretty much all of it, which is positive, and for arguably for the first time this season. Home or away, we dominated the game for much of it. So that side of it is pleasing without a doubt, and it's a great result away from home as well. So all that side of it is really, really good. That's my positive done. No, there's more.
Done.
No. Clearly there's more, but there are some downsides to it as well. And I had this conversation when I got home, and I got told off for this, for being negative, and I'm sure people will say the same on here. Yeah, yes, we won. Yes, it was a good performance. In the context of the season, it was a good performance. In the context of good performances, it was somewhere just below average, I would argue. And that's my take on it. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it, and not to say I didn't enjoy the win, and not to say I didn't enjoy the performance, but it's not really. We set the bar incredibly low this season in terms of good performances.
Okay,
just my view.
Fair enough. Tom, are you going to be coming and build a more high level of positivity than Mick? Because I'm really happy about yesterday. But there was obviously issues. There always been issues, but I'm really happy. That's a big step forward. We'll talk about the change in formation and setup in a minute. But yeah, Lincoln were poor. but we took advantage of it. Much like Northampton, we took advantage of a poor team.
Yeah, very poor, really, really poor. Surprisingly poor, actually. Because I didn't think they were that bad at all when they played us at New York, and then to play them again, I was expecting them to be a lot better than, well, maybe not quite on par with Stockport, but that sort of quality. And they couldn't make 5-yard passes or this, that, and the other. But yeah, I mean, it's safe to say that we controlled that game entirely, and it would have been an absolute farce if they got anything from that game. I think it was a really solid performance. I wouldn't say it was attacking. I still think there's much to be desired in the final third, but I think we were more composed. We defended really well. Midfield, we won the midfield battle, which I don't think we've done for a long time, if all this season. And yeah, I think the forward players, we need to start playing to their strengths a bit more, because I think although Wilkes had a couple of chances, I don't think Nombe was in the game much. I think McDonald put in some great balls. I think Powell had a good game out on the left. But yeah, I think again, I think I said it after Northampton. I'll say it again. It's a good platform, as sort of like a benchmark to play at. With a bit of composure and a bit of grit and energy and getting around the pitch. And it was, there's certain individuals, I think particularly McWilliams, that sort of set out that, sort of energy and determination that the rest seem to follow. But yeah, I mean, I'm similar with Mick in regards to that. One performance doesn't make the season, but you've got to look at it as a positive, and that it was a good performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Miller says, "Wonder how long before we have this win as maybe a springboard for better things to come." Every win is a potential springboard for better things to come.
Yeah.
Now it's up to Steve Evans to make it into one. But everyone is a possibility. Phil says, could it be we nullified their system? Even their manager said we didn't allow them to play their game. We'll come on to our system in a minute, but I think we are very firmly nailing our colours to the mast. And if you speak to Lincoln fans, they'll say the same thing. They were dreadful. They were really, really poor. That I don't think that's representative of what where they want to be, and even where they were a month ago. They gave us more of a game at New York than they did yesterday. Much more of a game. So they've got their own problems, but we don't need to talk too much about Lincoln. Although we will mention their goalkeeper in a minute, because it could have been a very easy afternoon if it weren't for him. But anyway, the change that we'll come on to it. The starting lineup, Mick.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, it came through late. It didn't come out till about 2:05. Well, it was a shock to everybody. Cameron was back in the starting 11. That was a shock in itself. We all assumed it was going to be a centre half, which we will come on to in a minute. Sean McWilliams was in there. Alex McDonald was in there. No Johnson Clark Harris. A very, very surprising lineup. Somebody put in here, Matt Miller, inspiration or desperation from Evans. I mean, we've won, so you can call it inspiration, but could you argue it is the other?
I have no idea. And I, to be honest, I've had the same thoughts since the game, at the game and since the game, as Mike's just alluded to there. What was it? And Evans has made some comment, I think, after either in his post-match or certainly since the game about, when he decided what the team was going to be earlier in the week. Some of his staff were surprised. It doesn't sound. I don't know. That just sounds a bit weird, quite frankly. And the setup was unusual. It wasn't what we expected. You're absolutely right. And obviously the standout from that. Well, there were three standouts to bring Alex McDonald and McWilliams in. Four standouts is one thing. For Johnson Clark Harris not to be even feature, I assume one assumes through injury, but nobody's said anything. There's been no announcement about that. Maybe he's one of the ones that's going to leave. Who knows? I'll just put that rumour out there.
Well,
I've no information, but hey, but the main one, obviously, Cam Humphreys. Even playing, first of all, given what's been said by the management team publicly about his performances in the past, what's been suggested by Paul Davis that he's potentially going to be one of the ones that leaves, and then to play him where he played him. So there were plenty of surprises, and the cynic in me says it suggests desperation. The cynic in me, and I think probably, arguably, I don't know whether that is true or not, arguably, I think inspiration is a bit too strong a word. That's not a word that I would associate with any of our management team, quite frankly. That's just a personal view. It worked. To a degree, it worked because we looked after the ball a lot better and we were a lot better in midfield. So, yeah, hindsight suggests it might have been inspiration. For me, it possibly borders on the other one, but like I say, I'm very cynical, as you know.
Yeah, well, again, to go back to Evans' first time around, this happened last time. Chopping and changing, putting different players in different positions. Carry Arneson in midfield, then he went to centre half, and other players in similar things. Keep changing things, and eventually it will work. It is the Steve Evans way, and that's not necessarily a dig. That's just the way Steve Evans does things. And it has gained serious success at other places. So far here, it hasn't gained success, but this one, Tom, was where the chopping and changing. I think you got to enter this. Yeah, we were good, and we'll come on to individual performances. I think also when you change it so drastically like that, the opposition can't really react. They've got less than an hour to react in terms of their tactics. So maybe that played into the really good performance as well, that we completely caught Lincoln off guard as well with the change.
Yeah, but I don't know if that really matters at this level, though. I think it's quite, players sort of, I don't think anyone knows what Evans' lineup's going to be. So I think as a manager, trying to predict is probably extremely, extremely tough. And from the sounds of it in his post-match, and I'm not saying that it wasn't a stroke of genius or anything, but it sounded like Kelly wasn't going to play this game regardless because of how much he worked in that Stockport game, how much ground he covered. So sounds like it was either going to be Cam or McWilliams to come in. But I honestly think that look, it could be considered desperation, but I didn't think for a minute that Cam Humphreys was going to play in midfield. And considering he has a centre mid at centre half, I mean, it makes more sense to have just swapped them two around, Odoffin and Humphreys. So to have him in centre mid, I think, and I might be wrong, and someone might tell me in the comments, but I think he's played there once under Taylor, and it was either a pre-season game or like something other, and it worked and he played for a half and it didn't work. I might be completely misremembering this, but something tells me I think he's played there before and it just didn't work at all. So to have him back there, I think it suits his game perfectly for League One. I think he's probably a better Championship centre half and probably a better League One midfielder, which is weird to say. But I don't think, honestly, I think he was great, and I think it was a really good performance because he mopped up well. He was physical. His technical ability and reading of the game is fantastic. But without the legs of McWilliams next to him, I don't think that's nearly as good as what it was. And I think Powell really helped with that as well, being a sort of inside left midfielder. And then to put, to say that all them three, and look, Alex McDonald didn't do much for me. I still think we need a winger, an out-and-out winger there. But his deliveries are fine. He worked hard, so again, not bad. But I think it's really, I think it's really harsh to say that it was desperation, because I think it takes a lot of balls to also drop Clark Harris, the captain, and although he's not been playing good games and maybe it's fitness related, who knows, to then do it in itself is, it takes a bit of, I'm the man and I'm going to show you, we're going to get better under me sort of thing. So I think all round, the back five speaks for itself. The midfield was clearly not working. We weren't dominating it. McWilliams for me is that snapper that we've missed. I don't think Powell does it. I don't think Kelly does it. And then, Humphreys for me is just what Teehee is. And we've missed Teehee since he's been injured. So to get him alongside Humphreys and McWilliams, I think would be a decent little midfield three. Personally, though, there's still not a lot of creativity in there. Yeah, Humphreys had a great game and screened the back four great, but he's not a creative player. He gives and receives the ball well. He shows for it well, reads the game really well, but he still doesn't give that little bit of attacking threat. So I think I think that's why a lot of people are saying it isn't a perfect game. It's great, and it was a good game, and it's a step forward, but I think we still need that cutting edge in that final third and a bit more creativity there.
Yeah, I agree. A couple of them are crying out for creativity. I mean, absolutely crying out for it. Before we move on to else, Michael says, best I've seen our fans all season yesterday. Yeah, Mick, and I think this plays, and it may be a coincidence, But Rotherham United play quite well in a positive fashion and dominate the game, and the fans are very, very good. I don't think it's rocket science. If the team give the fans something to play at, the fans play. I completely agree. I thought the fans were excellent yesterday. From
Brilliant.
Almost tonight, they were excellent, weren't they?
There's something about Lincoln as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
There's always a good atmosphere there when you go there. But yeah, the fans are excellent. But like you said, the team gave us something to hang on to. Because we dominated, and because we certainly second half we created as well. I liked it. I liked it a lot. The atmosphere was really, really good, but because they gave us something, like as you rightly said.
Yeah. I also enjoyed Elsie Carroll saying, "Don't look back in anger. Rotherham's new anthem." So go on.
It were brilliant. That was fantastic. They had to turn it off.
It was so good. If anybody wasn't there, I was after the game. I'm sure you've seen it, but Lincoln. I know it's a weird full-time song to put on when you've lost 1-0. You put "Don't Look Back in Anger" from Oasis on, and the Rotherham fans started singing. Evans come over and did his fist pumps, and then the fans carried on singing, and then they just turned it off. Really pettily, just turned it off. So the Rotherham fans we all just kept singing along to it.
That was good. That was really, really good. And I'm absolutely. We've binned off Cliff Richard. Have a bit of that. See what that works. See how that pans out.
It also fit quite nice for the circumstances the last 2 years as well. The away for it really fit everything. Really good. Really good. Fans were excellent yesterday. Could not praise them enough. I like the RUFC stat I put out. Rotherham have won more away games in 2025 as many games in 2025 as in 2023 and 2024 combined.
Yeah,
that's the way to keep going. It's the way forward. Right. Back to the specifics of the game. We've got to start with Cam Humphreys. There is no other place other than to start with Cam Humphreys, Tom. Paul Davis, I think, described it as the best individual performance of the season from a Rotherham player, something along those lines, and I think it's fair. He ran the game. He was, like I say, it was a surprise that he played there. It's one of those, a surprise that he played there, but when you look at his abilities, it can kind of make sense that at League One level, he can do that job really well. He's good on the ball. He can pick a pass relatively well. He's comfortable, and that's what essential deep line midfielder is. And he was man of the match, easily man of the match.
Yeah, surprised you're coming to me over Mick for this.
He'll get his time.
I won't say too much because Mick's going to praise him for the next 30 minutes. I think he was great, and I think he's what we've been. Honestly, I think he does a job that Kelly does, but with a little bit more energy, more legs. He receives the ball in better areas. He's more comfortable, taking on a man, so to say. A couple of times he beat a player. He's just extremely calm. He's Bar Lasser without the creativity. I'd argue. He's comfortable on the ball. His defensive play there is great. There's 1,001 ways that you can praise him for that, and it's a testament to him as well after being exited from the squad and almost sort of we literally said it on the podcast 3 days ago that I personally thought he'd been made an example of against Stockport, and it appears he's come out from the cold and had a great game. Whether or not it's because he knows there may be suitors in January, who knows? But all the better for us, I guess, because either he plays like that for the rest of the season, or we get some money for him in January. And I think that performance alone has probably stumped it up by another 100,000. Because as Evans said, although I don't think he's doing quite that job in the Championship, he did look a class above everyone else on the pitch. And although he wasn't effective going forward, I think it was that calmness, that ability to spread the play, I think, that we've been missing. I mean, the chance that Wilkes missed in the first half was some of the best football, again, that we've played all season. Started from the left, worked our way neatly into Humphreys, who spread it out to Rafferty down the line. And then it's an easy pullback and should do better with the finish. But those are the sort of chances that, that's the sort of football that we should be playing, that it should be neat and tidy and quick. And he's crisper in possession than most of the midfielders we've got. And like I said, it reminded me of it's what we've been missing since Teehee got injured. And I personally don't think it was too dissimilar from a Teehee performance. Maybe a little bit better, but I think well, obviously a bit better because you noticed him a lot more. But I think them two would be great as a little midfield pairing with McWilliams in front of them, sort of doing the dirty work. Again, like I said, not much creativity in that three, but I think you can get something out of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Mick, I don't know what I'm going to ask you, but yeah, just talk to me about Cam Humphries and try to have too much of a dig at Steve Evans if you can.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I can't believe you would say that. It's almost as if you read my mind. I've got no else to say. He's covered it, hasn't he? You know, it was outstanding. Better than Kelly for me because he's better on the ball. He is better on the ball. There's no doubt about it. He's quicker on the ball.
He's more physical. He's stronger on the ball when he gets it.
But he's technically better for me. I think he is. And who'd have thought that, you know, a player of championship quality had just, I don't know. It's difficult not to be negative. It really is difficult not to be negative when you've got a player of that quality in your squad and you've put him out to pasture when we've been really, really struggling. And then we bring him in as we bring him in, and he has a man of the match performance out of position. He almost scored as well in that second half. It was an absolute screamer of a shot. It needed probably another foot in height on it, and that was just top bins with a beautiful curl, and their keeper pulled off a great save to stop it. He's an excellent footballer. Far too good for League One, either whether you play him in position or out of position. And he proved exactly that on Saturday. And I think had we played with a bit more width, he would have had a better game, you know, because he was constantly looking to get the ball out wide. And because we were only playing the three in midfield, it was a little bit more difficult to achieve that width because of the formation. But had we been playing with some more width, he would have had a better game and arguably would have been more creative, I think. So listen, he's a quality footballer, and I hope he doesn't leave. But if he does, I mean, he's going to go for a free in the summer if he doesn't, I suppose. So it's one of those. He should never be in a position where, for me anyway, where we're even considering letting him go, unless he wants to go. He shouldn't even be considering it. But and he proved that on New Year's Day for me. An excellent performance.
Tom Case's only problem is confidence, and I've got a slight theory which I don't think's kind of out of the box, but my theory of Cam Humphries is I don't think Evans knows how to motivate a person of that personality. Cam Humphries is the most laid-back guy in the world. Whenever you see an interview with him, he's just smiling. Even Evans said in his post-match that I dropped him and he came in for a chat and he was just laughing. Whereas you look at what Evans has done in the past, the closest thing I can think to him is Carrie Arneson. In terms of personality. But Carrie Arneson, he got fired up. You could see him get fired up, whereas Cam Humphries doesn't have that kind of level of playing with anger, which Arnie did. So I don't think Evans knows how to manage his personality, to be honest with you.
I would argue. I think that's a really good comparison. And in terms of ability, I think they're very similar.
Yeah.
Really, you know, they are that level. So... yeah, we've wasted him so far this season because he had a few bad games, you know, and he's not the only player to have a few bad games, but he was one of the ones that got singled out. So let's hope that performance is carried over onto Saturday and he plays in the same position. I'm not convinced that he will, but it'd be a tough ask to drop him, you know. I would. There's no way that I would have kept him out of the team. And you know my view on it. We've said it, and I know other people have disagreed, and I know a lot of people have disagreed on social media with me. You know, because somebody drops off form and all of a sudden they're a bad player. Don't agree, and I've not agreed right from the start. So he's proved what a very, very good footballer he is.
Yeah. So you said maybe midfield is position in League One. Doesn't have to battle a 6 foot forward or a battering ram like they have. Potentially. Matt Miller says, and yet not long ago the podcast was advocating Humphries should leave as his form and confidence had hit zero. I don't recall that.
Nope. I don't think this is.
For his sake, it might be best. For Cam Humphrey's sake, it might be best thing, but for us, it isn't.
Yeah.
At no point have I ever said that, and I won't say that. At no point.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, Evans in his post-match, to be honest with you, suggested that the club have plans for him, which kind of says to me that he's off anyway for one reason or another. If it's to get cash because he's out of contract in the summer, I don't have a massive problem with that. I think you've got to cash him while you can. If it's for any other reason, I think it's stupid. But again, that cash is going to be reinvested. You know, we want to be seeing somebody come in who's going to be Cam Humphreys level in a year's time, for example, something like that. I hope the club are smart about it. I don't put any money on that, but I hope the club are smart about the way they're doing things with Cam Humphreys and Cohen Bramall if he leaves and whoever else leaves. Try and be smart about the recruitment process. But again, we will not put any money on that. McWilliams is definitely worth a mention as well, Tom, because it wasn't his first start, but if he's had more than 5 starts this season, I would be very, very surprised. Steve put in here, Cam was man of the match, but McWilliams lost a bit of bite we've not had in there. And that was McWilliams' best performance of the season for us. Maybe Cam Humphreys helped him, I don't know. Maybe he was played further forward again, I don't know. But he was excellent, McWilliams. And I think that's hopefully a sign of what kind of player he actually is. Yeah,
it makes me wonder if he has been playing with injuries, because he was everywhere, wasn't he? And it wasn't, it wasn't just his off the ball stuff. I thought on the ball, I thought he was weirdly very positive, good in possession. He picked the right passes. It was, it was nothing like we'd seen in the first couple of matches, because those first couple, it looked like he'd never seen a football before. And now he seems cultured on it. And he should have, maybe on a different game, he scores at the end as well to make it 2-0. So honestly, yeah, I think they were the perfect balance of sort of composure and grit that you needed in that midfield too. And yeah, I mean, maybe without the running, Humphreys doesn't look as good, and vice versa. So yeah, I think bite is definitely a way to describe him. He just, to me, seems like a better Jamie Lindsay with just a bit more confidence on the ball and ability to beat a man, and he looks quicker than he gives the impression of, and hopefully can pop up with a goal now and again. Again, might be a confidence thing, and a fitness thing, or an injury thing, or whatever. But definitely for me, man of the match, if between him and Humphreys, them two really dominated that midfield battle. Again, without creating an awful lot, but they locked it down defensively. We looked a lot more solid in our structure.
Yeah, I think that's. I like the formation, Mick. I like the way we set up, which we think was a 4-1-3-2-ish. I like the formation. I think it works. But if you are going to have that formation, McWilliams is limited in his creative ability. He'll run hard. He'll do a lot of dirty work. And Tom's right. I think better Jim Williams, I think, is a really good way to describe him. He's not going to create anything for you. He's not going to get many assists. He doesn't strike me as a goal scorer particularly. And if a guy just behind those front two, you'd expect him to tick at least one of those 2 boxes. So I can see why we're maybe looking to move him out and get somebody else in a slightly better McWilliams. We're really good in that formation.
Yeah, it depends what formation he's looking to continue to play, doesn't it? Because we were, again, for me, we were without width again on Saturday, on the whatever day it were. I don't know, let's on New Year's Day at Lincoln. We're going at Lincoln. Powell sort of got himself out onto that left-hand side quite a lot, but on the right-hand side, we kind of struggled a little bit to create any width. So yeah, it depends. It depends if they're going to come up with a plan. If they're going to come up with a plan and as to how we're going to play, then that's great. Let's get some players to fit that, assuming that we can come up with one, because we still haven't come up with one realistically. We did a lot better on Saturday, but there was no discernible style of play, for the want of a better word. We still did a lot of lumping it long, but we did play through the midfield a lot more than we have done. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this transfer window is going to bring. It's it's going to be interesting, I guess. Busy by the looks of it.
Very busy by the looks of it. Very, very busy. A few comments here. Paula Rhodes is saying rumours is that Wednesday have had £1 million bid for Malik Wilkes. Wayne says if Wednesday got a £1 offer, they've accepted of mine £1 million. Malik Wilkes is an odd one, Tom, because the rumour was prior to Wednesday was that Malik Wilks was on his way back to Sheffield Wednesday. Even after the game, he literally waved to the fans. Now, it turns out he was just waving to some people by the sounds of it, because Steve Evans has said he is staying at the club. The way Evans describes it suggests that we hold the cards. We have the option to send him back, not Wednesday to recall him. I don't know if that's true. I suppose we'll find out. But Wilks was really, really good. The best performance in quite a while. Him and Nombe worked quite well. He was physical. He should have scored 1 or 2 goals. But if that Malik Wilks turns up every other week or something like that, then he'll be a big player for us.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he had an all right game, but I don't think he had a good game by his standards, personally. I still think he's very underutilized at what he's good at, and that's taking on a player one-on-one. I think every time he gets the ball, his back's either to a defender or he's getting it at his head or chest or whatever with 3 players around him. If we can isolate him one-on-one, that's where he's best, cutting in on the right-hand side. I personally just think that, although, yeah, he should have scored 2, and he picked himself in, as a striker, he picks himself up in really good positions. I still think isolating him one-on-one with a fullback is just exactly where he is. I'd have played him where McDonald played, personally, because I think he's absolutely maybe wasted is too far, but at striker, it's definitely not his position. I think he's an out-and-out winger, and I think if we play him there, of course, some games he'll go anonymous, and some games he's going to try and take on 6 and do nothing with it. But as we can see time and time again, he's got that ability to absolutely create something out of nothing and create something for himself, granted. But, that's all he needs. He needs half a chance in the box, and that left foot is just an absolute hammer in it. So chances are, he's going to get a good chance of finding the target. So, yeah, I think he had a better game. I think he worked better with Nombe than Clark Harris does. But having said that, I'd still play him out wide. I just think his strengths are taking on players one-on-one, running the channels, holding it up, maybe, yeah, but not when there's 3 players around him, because he's always going to try and do the impossible, which he'll never be. If he does do, fantastic, absolutely amazing. But 99 times out of 100, it's extremely hard to get past 3 men in one go. So, yeah, I'd play him out wide, and try and utilize his ability to sort of isolate that fullback or play it in behind them, because he's got him with Nombe. They're 2 of the quickest players that I've seen in this league, personally. I think they're just rapid, and I don't think we exploit that enough with balls into the channels and over the tops of defenders. I think we did it a couple of times, and it sort of sometimes worked, but they had a decent centre half. Can't remember his name, O'Connor or something.
O'Connor,
yeah. He's a very capable defender, but I think against a lot of League One defenders, if you're running towards your own goal with Nombe or Wilks running that, I think you're worried.
Big time. Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the goal. Nick Cameron says Wilks was excellent at pressing, which ultimately led to the goal. Nick, 33 minutes in, we're not even mentioned goal yet, which is criminal, really. Joe Powell with his first goal for the club. But Nick's right. Wilks is chasing a lost ball. That ball was gone. That ball was the goalkeeper's. Yeah. But Wilks put himself in a position to make it very difficult for the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's then fluffed it. And that's the sign of Joe Powell's technique and his technical ability, because it was a relatively difficult shot to hit first time like he did. And he's just placed it beautifully. A really, really nice, tidy finish.
On his wrong foot as well, I think, right?
Didn't he? No, his left foot.
Oh, I thought he took with his right foot. My apologies. Whatever.
We're too busy falling over to notice which foot it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Let's not get into that, shall we? Yeah. I mean, that was from Wilks, like Tom said there, chasing down a lost cause, if you like. A long ball, ironically. But
from the keeper.
After everything that we've said, but yeah, I quite like those 2 up front because of the pace, like Tom said there. And the only issue with Wilks is he is anonymous for 2 or 3 games, or can be anonymous for 2 or 3 games, and then he comes up with something brilliant, doesn't he? But he had a decent game yesterday. He had quite a lot of saw quite a lot of the ball, and arguably should have scored a couple as well. So, but yeah, the goal came from he ought to get the assist for that, even though he didn't actually touch the ball, did he? It was due to his work that it fell to Powell, and I'll put it past 4 defenders. I don't know. They were virtually half the Lincoln side. They're throwing themselves at it. So we were better with those 2 up front. There's no doubt about it. We were better. Well, with Nombe and another who's not Clark Harris, because Clark Harris has not been mobile enough. He's been sitting too deep and not mobile enough. Those 2 are incredibly mobile, incredibly quick, and create all sorts of issues for the defenders. They're going to win very few balls in the air. They're going to win some, but not many. But that's the issue. Therein lies the issue as far as we're concerned. And despite the fact, like I said, that goal did come from a long ball. If you're going to play players like that up front, the long ball's rarely going to work. But on the flip side of that, when Clark Harris is playing up there or Hugo's playing up there, the long ball rarely works. So, try something different. We did, and it worked.
It's almost praise that was from Nick there. Almost praise.
Nearly.
Yeah. And also worth mentioning is Nick, how steady the back 4 looking still, considers for very little in the last 5 or 6 games, again, showing how she was going forward with creativity. Yeah, we questioned Reece James quite a lot, Tom, and we questioned Joe Rafferty quite a lot, but we look so much more solid. Well, when we're losing by 1 goal. We're not getting beat up, and we're not conceding loads and loads of chances. Although I thought Stockport created somewhere, we weren't getting battered by shots every 5 seconds. It's a base. It's a good base. We can talk about these creative issues with our issues, but defensively we seem pretty solid.
Yeah, we do. I think Jules and Odoffin are becoming a real. Well, said it against Stockport. I think that they are a very good pairing. Left foot, right foot. Both can play. Both are strong. Both are quick. Both good in the air. Both know where they need to be. It's a very formidable centre half pairing. Rafferty for me is a good defender, very good defender. Going forward can sometimes leave a little bit to be desired. Some of his crosses are excellent, but a lot of them are from a deep position. So, it's really tough to, like Wilkes' chance where he put it over the bar. Great ball in, but really tough to do a lot with it. Left back, Reece James, going forward is good enough, but defensively, for me, still leaves a little bit to be desired. I think he's at fault for a couple. Well, I think most of the times that we look vulnerable is down his side, and that's not to say he's a bad defender or anything. I just think he looks knackered to me. He looks absolutely shattered, and I think it's because he works so hard for 90 minutes that inevitably you'll come down his side because, well, he can't get back. Phillips for me, he's not. I think he's good. I think his shot stopping's good. Kicking is dreadful. Yeah, sometimes leaves, those 2 errors against Stockport where he rushes out and can be hot-headed, dreadful. But his shot-stopping ability is fine for now. If we can get a younger goalkeeper in, maybe he'd be second fiddle. But as of now, that back 5 is pretty consistent. I'd just bring in a backup for Reece James because to me he looks shattered, and whether that's fitness during a game or whether he's just playing out game every 90 minutes and he's just doing so much running in those games, he's just can't do it anymore. To me, he looks a little bit fatigued and a little bit tired mentally as well, that he just looks like he loses concentration. But yeah, no, you're right. That back 5 is becoming very, very consistently, good. I mean, we played Stockport and they are, Louis Barry, top goal scorer in the league, didn't really have, two sniffs, really scored 1. Didn't really do much with the other one. So, and Lincoln again, I think they're high scorers. I don't know. They didn't do anything, absolutely nothing in that game. So yeah, it's a very, very decent back 5 with good protection in front of them. I think against Lincoln.
Yeah, I think we have the 8th best defensive record in the league. Which again, even Wickham have conceded more goals than us this season.
Yeah.
So our issues are very, very, very obvious. If you stop conceding pretty soft goals like we did against Wigan, you look. We say we've got a great defence, but then our critical where we have the Wigan goal we conceded, such a poor goal to concede. Kind of adds to the frustration, I suppose, from that one. Matt Miller said he wants a heads up. Phillips didn't have much to do but save away to the left hand side in the first half was excellent. It was also one in the Yeah, it was the first time I'm thinking about. Sorry, Mick. Yeah, the first time. The last week. There was another one. There was another one as well. I can't think of what it was.
Outside the box, and he put it to the right, left of Phillips. Yeah.
Like Tom's bang on right. His kicking is average at best, but he's starting to look a little bit more comfortable. You know, in his first spell before he got dropped, it just looked like he was going to make a mistake every time he touched the ball. Whereas now he just looked comfortable and confident. The fans were singing his name yesterday, which I didn't think would be. You know, I would have thought that would be happening back in September, that people would be singing for Philip Phillips. But he just looks like he belongs a little bit more. And I think for goalkeepers, that's huge. That confidence in your own ability is a huge part of goalkeeping, and it looks solid. And that's all we want is a solid keeper. We don't need Victor. We just need a solid keeper. And he is.
Yeah, it's his best game for us yesterday. I thought he didn't have masses to do, but what he did have to do, he did well, with the exception of his kicking, which still needs some work. But yeah, I really pleased for him yesterday. Really pleased for him, and hopefully that'll give him some confidence going into Saturday. Fingers crossed, because it's going to be a tougher game. So yeah, done well there.
Yeah, very much a tougher game. We've got to mention their goalkeeper as well, George Wickens. Stunning save from Cam Humphreys. Great save from Sam Nombe. And I think he saved a tough one from Wilkes as well. Well, at the bar, I can't remember. But he had a really, really good game. Good shot stopping him. I think he's got his kicking issues as well, to be honest. But
I'm not sure whether it was the Nombe or the Humphreys effort, which was a double save. He saved it and then knocked it out, and had to get down to somebody's feet. I think it was Wilkes' feet. I don't know. I can't remember. But he did really, really well. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't get enough on the ball for the goal, though, could he? He tried to punch that away and couldn't get enough on it, thankfully.
See, I thought he was at fault for the goal.
Yeah,
he had no right to come out for it. I thought he was. I mean, I thought he was pretty average personally. I think he made, similar to Phillips, two decent saves. I think the Nombe one was pretty, easy in hindsight.
That was more standard than Nombe one. I think it was more standard than Nombe.
Yeah, the Humphreys one was good. But I thought he was at fault for our goal. I think Wilkes had no right to win that header. He's come rushing out, rush of blood, and from the looks of it, Lincoln fans seem to think that he does that most weeks. So it seems like he's a very inconsistent goalkeeper, which hopefully we can stay away from.
Yeah, a terrible game. Rubbish.
No. He did well when needed.
Exactly. Yeah, so Phillips had a really good, decent game. Their goalkeeper had a good game. We're going to mention quickly on Hungbo. He has gone to move to transfer news. It's January. Got to talk about some transfer stuff. Paul Davis, Harry's saying Hungbo has just said, Paul Davis. No, hang on. Should we start again? Because I just did that completely wrong. I'll get rid of it. Right, okay. Harry says, Paul Davis has said that Hungbo will be going to Wigan. That's been reported by Paul Kendrick, who is the Wigan correspondent. And if he says it, it's probably true. It looks like a permanent move as well. It's not a loan move for Hungbo to go from Nuremberg. It's a permanent from Nuremberg to Wigan. Don't know. I haven't seen anything about what the fee's going to be. But if it's a permanent, that's fine. I wouldn't. Well, first of what we've seen, I wouldn't be buying Hungbo. He might be a good player, and if it was just a loan and the wages are fine, I would say keeping him on loan would make sense. He's going back permanent. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm disappointed personally. I know some people don't agree. I don't think he's been given any opportunity at all, any real opportunity this season. He looks a really, really exciting player for me. He's skillful on the ball. Yeah, he has lost possession a few times. He has struggled, but he's not had any sort of run whatsoever. He started a couple of games and then it's just been a 10, 20-minute spell here and there. I don't think he's been given a fair crack of the whip by any stretch of the imagination, personally. That's just my view. But if he's got a permanent move, then we were never going to give him that. It would appear, because that's not the kind of player that traditionally that Evans and his team look for. It just isn't. So I'm personally quite disappointed that he hasn't had he hasn't had more of an opportunity. But that's just me.
Yeah,
I know some don't agree.
No, I agree with you, Mick. I do. I think I might need to change my preseason prediction, because I think I had him for most assists. So I need to change. I thought he was exciting. I think he's similar to Wilkes in that he was just anonymous in games that he started. In games that he came on, he made a difference. And I think he never really got a decent crack at it. I thought he never had successive starts, I don't think. He seemed like a good lad. Every time he came on, he seemed to be laughing and joking with everyone else and smiling. I think that 10-minute cameo against Wigan, where he earned himself a start in the next game, has done him sufficiently well. So yeah, I think it's just a case of I hope he does well there now, because I think we've missed a good player who could probably change games if he starts consistently. And I hope he goes to show that at Wigan. Yeah,
not against us, obviously.
Yeah, obviously not. I hope he, doesn't play against us, if we're being honest. But yeah, I agree with you, Mick. I think he's an excellent. I think he's an excellent player, technically, physically, can do it all really. And in pre-season, I mean, he looked like one of the best players that we'd signed. So, gutted to see him go.
Okay. Yes, absolutely right. We have no news. Is it breaking news if it was tweeted an hour ago? We're going to count it as breaking news, everybody. Jamie McCart has apparently agreed a deal to leave Rotherham United on a pre-contract agreement. Ooh. Now, obviously, what that means is technically, as things stand, if let's assume this deal has been completed to Hearts, I'll add Hearts into there, so he's gone to Hearts. That's been reported by Edinburgh News, also where Hearts is based. They've agreed that a pre-contract agreement has been signed for Jamie McCart. That means he's scheduled to stay with us to the rest of the season. Obviously, set for them in the summer. What often does happen in these cases is they sign a pre-contract agreement and then the clubs arrange a small fee for him to leave now. So fully expect Jamie McCart to be not a Rotherham United player in the coming days, Mick. I tweeted this out on Saturday, on New Year's Day or what the day before, that's a little bit of a surprise because Evans has talked up since he put me. I admit he put him on a transfer list. You know what I mean? I admit that, but he talked him up so much since Jamie McCart came into the squad, came into the team. Evans could not have talked more positively about Jamie McCart, and obviously until he found out Hacks was a natural centre back and not a right back. So I was a little bit surprised, but I suppose when you kind of think about it, it then kind of makes sense.
I don't know what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. I'm not. He's a Rafferty type player, isn't he? And I'm not a fan of Rafferty either. You know, I think they're just old fashioned centre halves who can head the ball and kick it. You know, they don't have any real sort of. It doesn't feel as though he's got any real sort of. It does not offer anything else really. So, I'm not disappointed to see him leave at all. So yeah, that's where we are. But like you say, in terms of his career under Steve Evans, he's been on the transfer list. He's been undroppable. He's been back out of favour again. He's then been undroppable and injured, and now going. You know, it's been a bit of a roller coaster in the last 6 months for him, up and down, and round and round as well. So yeah, if he's going, he's going. It will open up a chance maybe to keep Cam. I don't know. You know, we're going to have some cover in that centre half area. Raggett's permanently injured by the looks of it, or seems to be at the moment. So yeah, no real disappointment, is it?
No, it does potentially cause problems though, or not necessarily problems, Tom. But Evans said 3 signings, which didn't include loans. So McCart's gone. Hungbo's obviously gone back. We're expecting Cam Humphreys, Cohen Bramwell to leave, maybe even Sean McWilliams. Hakeem Adoffin's out of contract in the summer, so it wouldn't be a surprise to see Hacks leave this window because we might actually get a fee for him. That's 6 players. And that's before even if Cam Dawson, the link to Hibs, Cam Dawson becomes a real thing. That's 7. You need replacements for every single. These a lot of these players have been playing quite a lot of minutes. These are not bit part players. You need replacements for every single one of those. So it could be a really big, busy month.
Did you count a song in there as well?
Didn't even count a song in that. Exactly. So that's 8.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's the revolving transfer door, isn't it? That's where we're gonna be subject to. And look, I mean, let's be honest here as well. Nobody is a free agent in January that is probably good enough to play to a certain standard. And by that I mean, if we go out and sign a Lee Peltier, it's probably the top end of what we're going to get on a free agent market in January. So that means 8 players leaving and 8 players signing with transfer budget. And let's be honest, I think Bramall almost 100% on his way out. Hugo almost 100% on his way out.
I think got Hugo in that.
Exactly. Obviously, a Song, Hungbo are gone. Seems like McCart's gone. So that's probably 5 players that you think at the very least are leaving. You could make arguments for, Cam McWilliams. They both started yesterday. And even, I'm going to say this now and I might live to regret it, but even Evans isn't silly enough to think that we don't need squad players of their quality. Because although McWilliams hasn't played, I thought he was, along with Cam, man of the match yesterday against the Lincoln side who were pushing for playoffs. So that goes to show me that even if they're not starters for him, they are squad players and they are good squad players. They're not the kind of riffraff that you'll get knocking about in, the journeyman that potentially we will sign. But yeah, people have just put in the comments there Morrison, which is just amazing to me because again, another decent player, but with his injury record, we're getting rid of players that are fit now, sharp now for players that potentially aren't. And it is, let's be honest, you are scraping the barrel a little bit with the likes of Peltier and Morrison just because of what's been before. Potentially, coming in, they're not going to be the most fit now. They're injury prone. But hey, we'll have to see because as it stands right now, I can't see. I can see us getting rid of 5 players at least. And who comes in for that? And there's not a lot of free agents that I'm looking at and thinking they're going to improve this squad because 5 players that come in now are just going to be bit part players. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that'll get us through the season, but realistically, we're going to be in this league next season. Touch wood, not League 2. And almost 90% sure it's not going to be the Championship. So let's I think use this January transfer window to bring in players that are going to be with us next year. Will Morrison and Peltier do 6-month roles? Probably. Is it worth bringing them in on a high wage when you could maybe bring in a younger player who gets some experience in the squad and play for us next year with a hope of promotion? I'd rather that personally. Are any of them free agents at the moment? Absolutely not. So you're going to have to spend money. You're going to have to, if you're getting rid of 5 players, you're going to have to bring in 5 more with money. That's already about £1 million at least that you're probably spending on transfer fees, bearing in mind that you're probably not paying under 200k for a decent League One player. Maybe even, over $1 million if you're looking at 250, 300k for a decent League One player. Not to mention wages. And we're not getting $1 million off those 5 players with half of them, all of them out of contract in the summer. So yeah, would I take Peltz and Morrison back? Yeah. And players of the ilk, sure. But I mean, for 6 months, it's not a project, is it? And I think what we need now is a project because we're not going to be in. We're not going to be in the Championship next season. Hopefully, like I said, touch wood, most likely not going to be in League 2 next season. So we're going to have to look at building for next season, which is bringing in these youngsters, which are not going to be cheap.
The problem with that, Tom, is if you are going to do a rebuild and sign some relatively young players, Steve Evans the man you want doing that.
So you say this, and I yes and no, but I think he's got a decent-ish pedigree of bringing in younger players. So there's the Stevenage player Harvey White, which I think is an excellent player who he brought in when he was there. There was another one, is it Kemp? like an attacking midfielder. There's probably various other ones that you could sign, but I mean, it's for me. This January is going to be really tough because I can't see him bringing in a game changer that's going to absolutely fire us up the table to playoffs and then to the playoff final or whatever to get us up the league. I can't see it happening. And in that case, you have to build for next season. But then, like you say, is Evans the man to come in and coach a team that's going to be there next season and in that playoff push next season? I'm not sure. It's a really interesting window. And I think with the most respect to those 5 players I mentioned, I do see them going out. Coming in, I think it's just going to be a similar, again, respect to anyone coming in, I think it's just going to be a similar riffraff of players who are going to be bit part. Maybe some of them will be better than others, but I don't think a lot of them will be in that starting 11 week in, week out, unfortunately.
I could ask you the same question, but I know your answer, so shall we just skip over
that? Yeah, you might as well. You know exactly what I'm going to say, yeah.
Cool. Nick says, think is a rebuild putting us back to square one. We need time to gel once again, and we haven't got the time to need to go going now. I didn't even think about people gelling back in, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
that didn't cross my mind. Let's wait and see.
It's tough, isn't it? Because I don't think we don't have a big enough squad to get rid of these 5 players and replace them with 2 or 3. Because if we did, I'd absolutely do that. But if anything, we need more players than we currently have. So we need those 5 loans, and we don't have them yet. So that's 4 other players that you can argue we will bring in anyway, and then maybe 2 or 3 that you pay for. And I think that's the max that we can probably afford, and consider it sort of a rebuild, sort of not, and able to gel. But I'm no professional, so.
No, we're not. Absolutely not. Well, if you look at centre halves, we're 1 injury. Even with McCart, you're 1 injury away from almost a crisis. 1 more injury away from a crisis. With central midfielders, you're almost 1 more injury or suspension away from a mini crisis in the midfield. We're light on numbers. Like I say, we're light on numbers already. Time will tell. For us, creating podcasts is brilliant. This January is going to be great. There's going to be so much to talk about. For stability at a football club, I don't think it's very good at all.
No.
But let's wait and see what happens. For all the positive talk about New Year's Day, Mick, we go to Huddersfield Town on Saturday. Back to normal now. Saturday games at normal times until next Saturday, which is early kickoff. But this will be a test. They're unbeaten, I think, in 12 or 13 league games. They'll be a better team now than they were when we played them in August, which feels like it feels like last season, to be honest with you. They were poor on that day. We were very, very good after the red card, but they were very, very poor. So this is going to be a big test of this new, I suppose, new system that Evans has tried. And the question would be, is he going to stick with it? If we go 1-0 down at half time, is he just going to chuck it out a window and go back to 4-3-3 with Clark Harris as your main man? But that's the frustrating bit, isn't it?
It is a frustrating bit, and it's really so difficult to call with him, isn't it? You just don't know. We've had a decent performance and an away victory. Why would you change it? You wouldn't, would you? Common sense says that you wouldn't. The question is, why was Clark Harris not on the bench? It has to be injury. If he's now back from injury, he will come straight back in. I don't think. I just can't see him playing without a fit Clark Harris, quite frankly. So then that changes the complex of the game, or it just changes the whole look of the squad and the look and feel of the squad and how we're going to play. So for me, it worked. Do it again until it doesn't work, Huddersfield are going to offer something different, as you rightly point out, to what Lincoln did, and it'll be much higher quality as well. So I don't know whether he'll make changes to compensate for that. I don't know. You just don't know, do you?
No.
It's and I don't think he knows, and that's been half the problem. Neither him nor Rayner have really known what the best 11 is all season. We've said this many, many times, haven't we? And that's clearly the case. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. If you played the same 11, I wouldn't be surprised. If you made 3 or 4 changes, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, it would be very difficult for me to be for him to surprise us on Saturday, quite frankly, in terms of his selection. And to be honest, it'd be difficult to surprise me whether we change the way that we play, whether we just go 90% hoofball or whether we play it on the floor. I would be surprised neither way. Which you know, I don't know whether that's good or bad, frankly.
Yeah. Nick Carter says he would put Green in for McDonald personally, and then have Clark Harris in the squad. Wouldn't surprise to see him start up top. Green not playing in place of McDonald was a bit odd, Tom, but I kind of get it because we struggled for a little bit. So you put somebody who's going to run and work hard, and it worked. We won the game. You can't really argue with it. But we know McDonald is limited, very, very limited, but he tries. So it would be nice to see Andre Green come in just for that, because he does have that little bit of creativity, or can produce a little bit of creativity that we kind of miss a little bit. So it'd be nice to see him back in the starting 11.
Definitely. And Evan said in his post-match he's going to freshen it up. So I absolutely don't expect the same 11, unless he's doing a weird tactic where he's trying to get in the heads of the Huddersfield coaches. But I think he's telling the truth. I think he's going to change it up. I think the back five will stay the same, but I can see Clark Harris coming in and I can see Green coming in. They're two massive players, and he said that the reason staff fell off their chairs or whatever the quote was is that he left out massive players, and he's referring to Kelly, Clark Harris, and Green. So I think Kelly's good, but I wouldn't break up that midfield 2-3 if you count Powell, and I wouldn't, and I maybe Clark Harris might be more effective against a sort of a Huddersfield side with a back three. You know, it you're going to hate this, Mick, but he's going to have to think tactically, because playing against a back three isn't like playing against a back four, and he's going to have to think about how many players they're going to have in midfield, in those midfield areas. So he might revert back to a midfield 3-4, maybe, who knows, and try and keep it, you know, safe in the middle. Personally, though, I can see him bringing those three players back in: Kelly, Clark Harris, and Green. Who for? I don't know. But yeah, I can see him doing that. I think McDonald will be unlikely to start again. But I hope he plays Wilkes out there and he plays Clark Harris up front. I think he could do with a target man. Yeah, I don't know, right? I don't know, and it's hard to get in his mind as well. But that's the be all and end all. I don't know what I want. All I can say is that I think he's going to bring in those three big players that he left out against Lincoln. So Clark Harris, Green, and Kelly, I expect to start.
It's horses for courses, isn't it? And I think if you think Clark Harris is the right man, like I said, to match up, because they've got some. Is it Heelick? Have they still got Heelick?
Yeah,
it was a big unit.
He's the one who scored the equaliser against Burton in the last minute. So their last game wasn't,
not perfect. And then they got battered by Stockport, but managed to get a win there. So I don't think they're unbeatable, we'll say. No, definitely not. They're certainly a better team than Lincoln, but I don't, like I said, they're not going to be. They're not if they're the benchmark for the playoffs. Never say never. I think we're back within 12 points now. The playoffs.
No, let's not. Because every time we win, we talk about playoffs.
We even when we lose, we still talk about the playoffs.
Yeah, we do.
We will be in touch with the playoffs by the end of the month, Tom. So we've got to keep an eye on that gap.
Oh, 2025.
We've got to keep an eye on the gap. By the way, that's our first win on New Year's Day since 2022.
And what happened that year?
We beat
Gillingham.
No, 2022-23 was it was Gillingham promotion year.
Yeah, so we won the cup as well.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember who we beat on New Year's Day. It was our last away victory on New Year's Day since 2013. So I don't know. We're just rubbish away from home, I suppose. Nick says 2 games in hand. There you go, Nick. Now we're talking. 2 games in hand and everything. Now there you go.
If we win those 2 games in hand, fair enough. I'll start talking about it. But you still need to win them.
Exactly. One of them's against Bolton, we're only a few points off them now as well.
And the other one's against Wigan? No.
No, which game got called off? Do we get a postponement?
Yeah, Bolton.
No, there were a weather postponement, weren't
I thought it was
Blackpool.
Bolton. Ah, yes, it was.
So they're two winnable games. Like Blackpool and Bolton will be saying exactly the same thing. But they're two winnable games, Mick. 6 points then, Mick. You know what I mean? It's on, isn't it?
I don't know whether Mike's still watching or not, but if you start mentioning springboards, then he's going to blow a fuse, isn't he? Let's just we've won the game. You know,
let's focus on relegation first.
Yeah. For the record, I don't think we'll make the playoffs. I absolutely don't think we'll make it. But stranger things have happened than us making it playoffs. To be fair,
we're early in the season, but look, there's been no discernible step forward. With the greatest of respect, you know, we've won a game and we've played well. We deservedly won a game. We've dominated a team, but there's really been no discernible step forward in terms of tactically, anyway, for me, and quality. Quality, relatively speaking, to the league rather than relatively speaking to our performances this season, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Right, let's do predictions time. Right, I haven't done the board, I ain't updated the board, but Ben, Joy, and Kev all picked up 1 point. Ben was 2-0, Joy was 2-1, Kev was 3-0, so they'll pick up a single point. So they will all move up. Joy will move closer to the top two now. I haven't updated it for several weeks because you were also rubbish. But the last update was this one, so Joy will be level on points with Tom now in second place.
Ooh. It's heating up.
2 points behind Mick. Kev will be above Danny, and Ben will be on 6 points. Ben this time has gone for a loss. He has gone for a 1-0 defeat. Obviously, Huddersfield to win that. Kev's gone for a 3-0 victory, obviously. Danny's gone for 0-0. And Joy has gone for 2-1. Tom, I see you're now not second place on your own. What do you reckon?
1-1. I think it'll be a similar performance, but I think Huddersfield might have a bit more about them. And I think it'll be 1-1. I think, I want to go for a win, but being logical, I think it'll be a 1-1.
That's fair enough, Mick.
I think it won't bring Clark Harris back. I think he'll play the same team except McDonald for Green or Green in for McDonald. I think we'll play the ball on the floor. I think we'll do really, really well, and I think we'll win 2-1.
Oh, I think you're building for a loss then.
Yeah, I thought he was.
There you go. Don't ever tell me that I'm negative again.
Yeah. I think this is an opportunity to put a statement now. You're not going to say it's a spring for it's an opportunity to put a statement out. You can go and get back-to-back away wins at somewhere difficult like Huddersfield. It then builds. Imagine the confidence the players should be really good. I'm not saying we're going to go 12 games unbeaten then, but it puts to bed everything we've ever talked about away form because it's done. We've won back-to-back games, 3 games all season. We then got something to go forward from. And then it's a busy January. We've got quite a lot of games in January, I think, as well. So it's an opportunity. It's down to Evans and the players to take this opportunity that they've presented to themselves. We can hope and pray. Chris Taylor says 1-1. We've seen the light. Steve Grundy and Paula Rhodes both say exactly the same. Travelling Brian says 3-1 to Huddersfield. Nick Cammett says 0-0. Nick says 2-1 to Huddersfield, and Phil says 2-0. Harry says 1-0. Kaylee Wilson says 2-1 to the Millers. Mike Miller says defeat. Steve says 2-0, and Richard says 2-2. Matt Miller says, wasn't the Mansfield game a statement game?
Yes,
it's only a statement game if you win.
What a statement that was.
It's only a statement if you win.
Yeah.
No, that was going to be a statement game after the game before, and we blew that straight out of that water, didn't we?
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're not going to end up having the same sort of debacle on Saturday as we did against Mansfield.
Williams said it.
It's not forecast to be great, is it?
No, that's true, actually. Williams said it, and if the players know it, Williams said you've got to follow these games up. You've got to back this up. It's no good winning here and there. They've given themselves an opportunity to put back wins together away from home. They've got to at least be positive about it. Let's wait and see. Anything else we need to mention? I'm sure there's something I forgot, but I can't think where it is.
Yes, there is. Darts starts in a minute. Let's get on.
Yeah, well, we missed first game, so
Who
Do you
won?
want to know the result?
Yeah,
MVG won, didn't it?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I assume I did.
Yeah. Little Bunting should be a barn burner of a game. Matt the Miller says ref. Two things on this. First of all, I thought the ref was excellent against Lincoln. Barely noticed him. I thought he managed the game really, really well. Big thumbs up. I think it was Benjamin Speedy was scheduled to be the referee. I don't know if it changed. And the referee is the American Alex Chilowitz. I think is probably not how you say it. We have had him a couple of times before. We had first one against Millwall last season. We beat him. Pretty solid referee. I think it's an away game we had him this year. So yeah. Anything else, Tom? Anything?
Ben Speedy. Did you say that?
Benjamin Speedy was the one against Lincoln.
Yeah. Sorry, just double checking.
very
No,
good.
nothing from me.
Also, worth noting, by the way, the Chesterfield tickets aren't going on sale. We play them next week, or next week, the week after. So let's get on that. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for being seen. Thank you all for being with us. I hope you've had a lovely new year, and I hope you've enjoyed some positivity, some negativity, what we would call realism. It's just a sarcastic dig, so apologies. Make sure you have subscribed on YouTube if you haven't done so already. If you are listening on iTunes or Spotify, make sure you have followed us and subscribe wherever it allows you to do so, and give us a 5-star rating and leave a comment where it allows you to do so as well. If you're watching on X, where I can see loads of you are watching on X tonight, make sure you have followed us on there. We shall be back on Sunday evening, back to the normal schedule now, Sunday evening for the review show of Huddersfield, as the days get very, very much colder, but the football gets serious from now onwards. Thank you, Mick. Thank you, Tom.
No problem.
Happy New Year to everybody out there, and we will see you all next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
I think I always made the comment that once a Miller, always a Miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good Evans, he's done it again. Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office, and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favor, drop me off in